All right, so welcome to the Geek Group. Great to hear everybody is doing. Sounds like everybody's doing really well. The first thing I want to read is our disclaimer. Topics, properties, and investments discussed are for educational purposes only. We do not sell securities. Each individual investor is responsible for their own decisions and must evaluate investments according to their investment risk tolerances. Opinions expressed are those of speakers and no one else. And then really quickly, David, before I introduce you, I'm going to try to hijack just a little bit here, and I want to show everyone and record this. So for others who are not on the call, you know, we've kind of been working to expand the benefits that you guys receive from the Geek Group. And one of the benefits we feel like we can provide is connections in our time in syndication. You know, the 9 syndications we've done over the 5 years we've been in this, since 2016, we have a database of about 5,500 contacts. And part of what I want to do is link up Geek Group members together so you guys can consider partnering with each other. That's one aspect of that I think is important for the collaboration of the team. And I also feel like there's a bunch of suppliers out there that you might be able to benefit from. And so I sent you a link to AnthroBank. That's what we designed our own CRMS years ago, and it's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's been quite functional for us in terms of just logging the 5,500 contacts, and we'll look up people all the time and find them in our database. One student the other day had ate lunch with a broker in Oklahoma City, and I looked up the broker, and we had lunch with that same broker 5 years ago. So it's amazing how we keep coming around to the same group of people. Well, so here's a quick introduction. In 5 minutes, I'm going to try to preview for this. And what I want to encourage you to do is log into AnthroBank and update your profile so that your fellow students can see who you are. And you're going to be able to see suppliers that we recommend possibly, and they're going to be able to see you also depending on the settings you set. Okay, so there'll be a My Courses tab. That'll show the courses you're in through MultifamilyGeeks, plus some additional courses we're thinking about adding. And then let me click over really quickly here. Okay. And then there'll be My Cohort. So these would be a list of all of your fellow students and contact information here, right? So these are Geek Group members. You should see a name. Once you guys upload a photo, that would that's your choice whether you want to do that. That's through the profile. I'll show you that in a second. And also the home city. I've got home cities in for some of you, and I've got them wrong. So I want you to log in and correct that. And then there's this idea of status. There's some different communications you can make to your fellow students. I'll show you that a little bit more. And then a phone number and email and currently reading, some of the books you're currently reading and things. I'll show you that also. So under My Profile tab, it allows you as a student to set your name, cell phone number, and your home city. For home city, you may select a smaller city, like let's say I was in Long Beach. That's a local city to LA. Or I might just put Los Angeles in there if I'd like you to know I'm in that bigger metropolitan statistical area. And then there's My Statuses. This is kind of an interesting idea that we're talking about. There's things like I can be boots on the ground for my home city. When you're in my home city, let's have lunch. All kinds of different things. I'm best at underwriting. I'm best at calling brokers. There's kind of some interesting things that were in there before, and you can look that over and decide what tags fit you best for your status. You can update your 5-sentence bio, update your photo, put in what you're currently reading, what you want to read, and what you've already read. And you can also turn on your contact information, yes or no, for suppliers, right? So under books, this list is just starting, but there's probably 200 books. I think we'll put a list in where you guys can sort of put a list of what you've already read, what you want to read, and what you're currently reading, and that might help you connect a little bit better with other members who are reading a book that either you want to read or you're currently reading. And then there's a list of suppliers for you. Okay, so this is starting with, it's only 15 right now, but like I said, we've got thousands of contacts in our database. And it's our intention to move those over into this system for you guys to see and be able to search. So right now, these are all the contacts of everybody that's been on the Geek call. For example, here's William Collins or Brian Aries or Rob Overstreet. And you'll find things like their company name and their titles. So the theory of this is, if you want to search up, say, a property manager, you ought to be able to go to this list and find property manager, and you ought to be able to find some suppliers, possibly in your home city or whatever city the building is that your property that you're looking for. So the list is small right now, but I promise you it's going to expand over the coming months. And so I sent you a link to the to log in and update this profile section for yourself here. If you guys are willing, go ahead and do that and maybe click around on those tabs. And over time, you're going to definitely see that system improve for us. And I hope it becomes a real network for you where you can start to say, maybe you're looking at a property in Dallas and you type in home city Dallas. And if Tarina pops up and it says, yeah, I'm willing to be boots on the ground for a property, you can just call her up and have her look at the property that you're underwriting, right? And that's kind of the theory here, where you could start to reach out and help each other build connections and help each other with properties. So with that said, I'm going to stop presenting that, and I'm going to move quickly on to the next segment here. And so let's move to our guest speaker, and I apologize for rushing so much. I want to give David as much time as possible. So our guest speaker tonight is David Selvin. David is a Geek Group member, proudly. I am proud that he is a Geek Group member. And David Selvin is a real estate investor and residential redeveloper and realtor who renovates single-family properties around the San Francisco Bay Area, Kansas City, and Milwaukee. He also wholesales properties in those areas as well. Here to speak to you about flipping and wholesaling residential real estate, please welcome David Selvin. And if I've made any misstatements on that, David, or you want to add to that, please feel free to do so. Okay, go ahead and take it away.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your time tonight. And tonight, so I noticed the title of tonight's meeting was Flipping Properties Out of State, I believe, or something like that. However, we're going to go a little bit deeper than that. I'm going to talk a lot about all the different factors that play a part in my business, which is mindset, as well as even down to obtaining business credit, and marketing and how I get everything I got going. Now, like I said, I'm in Atlanta, and I swear to you guys, I had a presentation ready. Somehow my computers are not syncing up. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong, and that's the situation that's been going on since these past 2 days. But it is what it is, and we move forward and push through and make it happen. So I'm going to go off the top of my head. And so with that being said, the way my mind works is that sometimes I might say something and it sparks an idea and I go off on a tangent. And so if you guys have any questions on whatever I previously was talking about before I ran off on a whole different subject, just let me know so I can slow down. Okay? So make a long story short, I got involved in real estate in 2016. I got my license in 2017. How I got involved in real estate was actually I was looking to invest, and I ended up reaching out to somebody who I knew who was investing in real estate, and sent this gentleman some money as an investor. We were supposed to partner up in a deal. We created an LLC together, and he pretty much tried to take advantage of me and run off with my money and things like that. Make a long story short, I got my money back, but right there, light bulb went off and said, I really need to figure this out. And so I started really educating myself, learning about the business, taking a lot of seminars. I've spent a lot of money. I spent literally over 100,000 on my education, probably more than that, probably over 150,000 on my education through different seminars and things like that. And I'm a big believer on mindset. So Max, when you was talking about Tony Robbins earlier, I'm a Tony Robbins freak. I'm actually going to Fiji in March to one of his events with my wife. So, I'm big on Tony Robbins. I'm big on mindset, Bob Proctor, watching all those kind of YouTube videos, because that stuff has changed my life. This is something I don't say often, but I will say it. And I usually don't say it, especially because this is being recorded, but I don't mind saying it because I'm okay with it. Back in this had to be about 09, 08, 09, I was homeless with my family. Certain things didn't go right, business propositions. I moved to California. from Boston, Massachusetts. I grew up in Los Angeles, moved to Boston. Well, I pretty much grew up in Boston. I was young I was 14 when I moved to Boston. And then I came back to California, my family, and certain things didn't go right, and it didn't end too well for me. So I was rock bottom. And I've been in a lot of business opportunities where I've made, so much money and up hundreds of thousands of dollars, lose it all. But one thing I realized is that you can't take this away. So as long as you have this, you can keep pushing forward. And so that's one thing I just want everybody to realize, that I strongly believe that 90% of everything you do in life is mindset and 10% is skill set. It's just like with this multifamily. I mean, most of the time what's really holding us back is our mindset. We like, oh man, I really got caught in broker. Oh no, or I got to raise it. It's just certain limitations we put on ourselves, whatever the case may be. So I'm big on that and constantly trying to train my mind for that. So a lot of books I have is about mindset. So that's what I first wanted to just talk about. And so from there, I started educating myself, trying to figure out the game and learning how to flip and wholesale. I really wanted to get into wholesale first, but I actually started flipping properties before I started wholesaling. I started going to network meetups, and I started meeting seasoned investors. I started figuring out who's the players in the room and who's the fakers. I started looking like, okay, watching people, seeing what they're doing, following up, calling people, just seeing how I could get involved. And I started seeing who the people that were actually doing deals were, and I just started trying to connect with them. So I found the deal, and when I found this deal, I reached out to a hard money lender trying to figure it out, and he's like, "Do you have any experience?" I said, "No." And so he says, "All right, you're gonna have to partner with somebody." So I hung up the phone with him, called two other hard money lenders. They both said the same thing. I called another one. He said he'll do it, but his interest rates were outrageous. And then I started to think about, like, maybe if I partner with this person, I could actually learn. So it's an educational experience. So I partnered with this person on the first couple of deals I did. And, I'm blessed to have met this person because they ended up helping me a lot learn the business. So before I start talking about, I was going to talk about business credit and all of that first. Let's start with marketing. So it's a process. First, you got to have a deal. So if you have no deal flow, if you don't have a deal flow, how are you going to get a deal? So, you first got to find these deals. Okay, so one of the things I do, we have what I call an MLS outreach system. So we're reaching out to realtors, but we're really trying to find those pocket listings. Kind of like the same thing we do with multifamily. With the brokers, you don't want anything online. You want the stuff that they have that's a pocket listing. You don't want anything that's being marketed out. So it's the same thing. And I bought off the MLS as well. But especially lately, right now, it's really hard. The market's extremely hot. And so you have people that's just paying stupid prices. They don't know what they're doing. Or maybe other people are just parking their money. I don't know. But I don't buy like that. So you have to be careful with that. So first thing is with marketing, the marketing channels that we use is cold calling. We reach out to realtors, as well as we also I do a letter campaign, and I also do now I do pay per click now. So I have a team that handles all of that for me as far as pay per click. So if you do we buy houses, whatever city, then what I call a squeeze page website will pop up. You click on that, information goes in, and I have everybody in the background handling all of this for me. And then what I do is I do the follow-up call. So they just have a list for me to follow up, and then I try to follow up. And I'm really trying now to train an assistant. So my whole team is virtual assistants in the Philippines. That's what I use. I use VAs. I pay them $4 an hour, and they handle everything. So what I actually do is I have a head VA. She kind of runs the show. And then I have people under her that kind of do all the cold calling and everything for me. The direct mail, I handle myself from here, and we send out lots of letters. Now, tools I use, I pull lists from, I use a company called PropStream, and we pull lists from there. I also have access because I'm a realtor. I got good connections with the title companies and, title companies I do business with. And so they gave me access to their database where I could just log in and do it. But the reality is that PropStream is just easier to use. It's cheap enough monthly, so I just use that. My VAs like to do that. They like to pull comps through that versus logging into my MLS system and pulling comps that way. So, we do it that way. So we use PropStream to pull our list. My VAs use PropStream to run comps. And then when it's so if it's a property I'm going to wholesale, we leave it at that. If it's a property I'm going to flip, then I go into more detail on the MLS because I want to make sure I'm not getting screwed. So I really tighten up my numbers. I'm looking at their comp, looking at my VA's comps. I'm looking at the comps I pulled on MLS, comparing them most of the time because they gotten so good that now most of the time we have the same exact comps, which is great. So let's talk about as far as so we got the marketing down. So you got to start a marketing campaign, and you got to be consistent at that. So a lot of people, they will send out. So a lot of people tell me right now, yellow letters don't work. Yellow letters is actually where I get more. It's my number one source to get deals. Is still yellow letters. So we do yellow letters. We do cold call. I forgot to mention we also do texting. We run a texting, and we do something called RVM, which is ringless voicemail. So what we do is we start with a text. So we get a list. Automatically, they're getting a letter from that list. Then from there, at the same time when that letter's in the mail, they're getting a text message first. So we could try to eliminate the BS from there, like the bad numbers and things like that. It's because when you pull a list, you skip trace that list. A lot of times, a lot of the numbers. So if you have a list of 10,000 properties, usually I'll pull a list of last list I pulled was 13,000 properties and only 8,000 of them came back with phone numbers. So, those lists, it fluctuates. So you weed out, and then out of those 8,000 phone numbers, maybe about, I think 6,000 of them were good numbers. We found already like 2,000 wrong numbers or disconnected or whatever it is. So we weed that out through the text message first. Then from there, we cold call. So tools I use for text message, I use a company called Drop Cowboy, and then through cold calling, we use a tool called Call Tools, which is basically an auto dialer. So actually, Call Tools, you can some of you probably heard of one that's more popular called Mojo Dialer. But with Call Tools, what you can actually do is you could dial up to 10 numbers at once. I don't have them do 10 because that's too many. So they're dialing 3 at a time, 3 numbers at a time. And so what happens is it's ringing 3 numbers at one time. Whichever number is the first one to pick up, it automatically hangs up from the other ones. And it says, what is the text message tool you use? I use Drop Cowboy. It's called Drop Cowboy. And so that's a cool little tool. I think monthly it's I can't remember. I don't know. My VA handles everything. My trip to Hawaii, my VA booked the whole trip for me. Take airfare, hotel, everything. Stay in a nice hotel, airfare, everything. My VA, only thing we booked ourselves was the excursions because I'm like, hold on, she don't know what I like. So we booked our excursions, but everything. So VAs are great. I love this lady. She's such a great tool to have. I mean, she's you got to find the right one. So that's another thing I was going to say. See, I'm going off on a tangent now. Is that with VAs, you gotta you train them, and then you constantly it says who, not how. Okay, yeah. So VAs, you constantly train them. So as you train one, you need to train another one and you keep them in your systems. Keep training. So when I hire a VA, the number one job is to hire them. Their first job, the first task that they get is hire me more VAs. They're tapped in over there in the Philippines into certain networks that we might not be tapped into. I mean, I use Online Jobs PH. I use Upwork. I'm trying to think of the other one. Those are the main ones. I use Fiverr, but those are more for like one-off jobs. Like if I just need something done real quick, like website or something like that. But for the VAs, I mainly use Online Jobs PH. And then now I actually use this a gentleman. His name is Antoine Campbell. He has a lot of little stuff on Instagram and YouTube and stuff about wholesaling. And I actually reached out to him, talked to him, and he actually sent me some VAs, and his VAs actually turn out the best vetted VAs. Now you're gonna pay a fee because it's an agency. So we have agencies. So I've worked with a ton of agencies, and but his agency actually they turned out decent. And there was a few that I had to fire, but as soon as I fire him, I reach out to his whole agency is run by VA. So I just reach out to his VA and they'll get me another one. So matter of fact, I'm interviewing for 2 more positions when I get back on Monday through his company. So that's what I like about that. They have a warranty. They have a 6-month warranty on VAs. So, and that's the thing. There's a good book called It's called, oh man, what's the name of the book? I wish I was in my office. It's called Virtual Freedom by Chris Drucker, I think is his name. And that'll teach you a lot about VAs, because that was another thing I realized, is that I was driving away a lot of VAs. I feel like I was kind of talking to people, not realizing, you see people from another country and they're in another place and you think they're different than you, but they're all the same. They want the same. They have emotions, they have feelings just like you, and they want the same for their family as you want for your family. So you have to remember that. You have to treat them good. We have online Zoom parties, pizza parties, things like that. We have like birthdays. I pay them a little extra on their birthdays. And then payment, I use there's a source called TransferWise to pay my team. I use TransferWise, and another one's called Payoneer. But mainly use TransferWise. I had a guy that was from Africa for a little bit, and so TransferWise doesn't go to Africa, so we was using Payoneer for him. But besides that, I use TransferWise, which is a great service. And then also they get bonuses. For every deal that's closed, they get a bonus. Our money goes a long way in these other countries, a long way. So like a simple $1,000 bonus, you know how long that goes? You just made all this money, you can't give up $1,000? It's a write-off anyways. And you know how long that goes, how far that stretches with their family there? They forever grateful for that. And that's what I believe in abundance. I believe you give and you should receive. I said that earlier, and I really believe that. Because when you help these people, you're not. So, okay, Napoleon Hill, we talked about all this stuff. Now, I'm not sure if it was in Think and Grow Rich or The Laws of Success. One of those books, there was something called a self-confidence formula. And on one of those letters, it says you will not engage in no transaction that does not affect all whom it affects. All whom it affects, meaning not just me or the person doing the transaction, but also our families, my family, their family, children, things like that. So any way I can help them better their family, I love it, and they love me for it, and they'll do anything for me. And that's what I love about that with VA. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that. If anybody want to know anything, you always call me. It's my cell phone and the contact information. So we got VAs. I'm sorry because I don't have my presentation. So I talked about VAs. I talked about marketing. Now, what do you do when you get a deal? So let's talk about this. Contracts. I could also, and that's what I was going to say, Max. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send an email when I get back with contracts. With my contract I use, my deal analyzer that I use, basically my version of an underwriter template for single family homes, and also a repair estimated sheet, which I have two of them. I have one for the Bay Area because labor is so crazy in the Bay Area. So the numbers are adjusted for what goes on here in the Bay Area. And then I have one for numbers. Actually, I think I have one open on this computer. Let me share my screen. Maybe let's see if this works. Okay, wait, how do I do this? Okay, present now. I'm gonna try to present my entire screen. If you guys see something you don't like, just close your eyes. Oh wait, we're being recorded. I don't know. Hey, I'm only human, guys. Okay. Oh wait, it's telling me to open my preferences. So give me a second. But it might. I think last time I did this, it disconnected me. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna want to do this. Give me a second, guys. Hopefully this works. Okay. Oh, let me just put later. Okay, it might not work unless I disconnect. Okay, so let's.
If you want to do it real quick, you can.
Okay, yeah. Let me see if Chrome wants to share your entire screen. Okay. Oh wait, it might work. There we go. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
All right. So let's go here because I actually was looking at one earlier. It's in my Safari. I use Safari a lot. Okay. All right. So this is one in Oakland, California. This is in the Oakland Hills, so it's a very expensive property. So I adjusted my numbers here. The after repair value is 1.27. Now I'm being real conservative on this one. And the reason I'm being so conservative about this is the the lot size is really a lot smaller than the other properties in the area. So I know that's going to be a hard sell, and so the property might have to sell less. Most properties in this area are selling for 1.4 for that same square footage of the house, but the lot size is really small. But the good thing is, even though the lot size is small, the backyard is like you have a huge backyard, because actually the backyard opens up to the forest, to the there's a state park in the backyard. So as soon as you walk out your backyard, you're in a state park. So, but the problem is it's not your land. And so that's why I was like, well, you know what? Let me be conservative for that. Now, so here on this first page of my analyzer, we put in the property information, what I'm gonna do with the property. Then I put any notes. So, this is something which I already noticed. This is old, but basically I was asking, is this solar rented or not when I went and looked at the deal. Maybe I might be able to pull up pictures from my cell phone, because the pictures are on my cell phone of the deal. Oops, what is this? Something just try to open up on my phone. Oops. Taking pictures on my phone, all kind of stuff. Okay, so now this is what the taxes will be for the whole time will be 6 months. Estimated cost of repairs, and I'm gonna show you what I did, because these numbers are actually for my Kansas City type numbers on the repairs and Milwaukee type numbers. So I'm gonna show you, how I bumped up because I know I could get it done for this, and so that's why I bumped up my number. So purchase price 900. They want as is. I put what they want. They want $1 million for the property. Not possible. Not happening. Insurance. What I'm gonna pay for hazard insurance. And then here, this is my financing costs. So here you have your purchase price at 90%. The rehab. So basically, this is the first position. The hard money lender is gonna cover 90% of the purchase price and 100% of the rehab costs. Now, buying costs and holding costs is zero, because they're not covering that. So your buying costs and your holding costs is like your closing costs. Your holding cost is to pay that hard money note every single month. Every single month, you got to pay an interest-only payment, and it's not cheap. As you see, estimated monthly payment is $6,900, and that's interest only. And that's at my loan points is 2%. 2 points and 8.5%. And the point, if you don't know, everybody here should know, but a point is a percentage of the loan amount. So not necessarily a purchase price, but of the loan amount. And then the interest rate. And so this is a spreadsheet that calculates everything. And that's why I use it in Excel, because I didn't create this, but the person who created this, they created it with Excel. And whenever I open it in Google Drive, or even in I'm using a Mac, so whenever I open it like in Numbers and stuff, some of the cells break. So I try to keep it in Excel. And then now here's the second. So the second is what you call fills the gap. What a gap is basically the gap is like exactly what it says. You fill the gap. So it's like for your closing costs, your holding costs, your down payment, and any miscellaneous stuff that you need. So now that's why you see here is 90%. Now here's 10%. Rehab cost is zero, because you got 100% of the rehab budgeted here. Then here you have 100% of holding costs, 100% of buying costs, and here now. You might look at this and say, whoa, this interest rate is super cheap, right? Because most people you would go to, this second mortgage, you would actually go same way we reach out to investors. Hey, you want to invest in this syndication? That's the same thing you're going to do. Hey, I have an opportunity, but instead you're not an equity partner. When you invest in a syndication, you coming in as an equity partner, you get a percentage of the equity split. Whereas this, now you're a debt partner. So they're going to take a second position, deed of trust on the property. So if anything happens, they're protected through this second position here. So they get paid. When I sell the property, I can't even get paid till all these people get paid. Now, most people, the reason I said this is crazy, because most people, when you do this, you're reaching out to people in your network. Hey, loan me the money. Now, they're going to want minimum 8% or higher, 10%. Usually 8, 10, 12%. That's where I'm at is 10 to 12%. But now this is 4%, because I'm not pulling this from them. I'm going to pull this from a business line that I know this is what I have. It's a business line that I already have established. I have hundreds of thousands of dollars in business credit. And I was able to do that over a period. I started acquiring business credit actually in 2016. I was blessed enough to meet a gentleman. You guys could write down this guy's name. His name's Will Roundtree. He's all over social media, Instagram, and things like that. But this guy really, really plugged me in the game, and I later found out that I was actually one of his first case studies in regards to business credit. And he really, really helped me with it. And, it just took off. So what I decided to do, I have LLCs. I have multiple LLCs. Each one of them have lines of business credit. My wife has LLCs. Each one of them lines of business credit. My daughter has LLCs. Each one of them have lines of business credit, because this is how, I could fund them where I don't necessarily need to go to somebody, and sometimes it's cheaper. Now, it's not always this cheap. I mean, sometimes this interest rate, if I pull from a credit card, is going to be 21%. But I mean, in this case, for this line of credit, this is where it's at, and you see how it says no payment due each month, because I could defer the payments on it. So it's, it's cool, work with certain banks. Credit unions are good, and just establishing a relationship with smaller banks, and they're looking for money flowing in and out. So if you have a lot of money flowing in and out of the accounts, that's what they want. Well, it's flowing in, not out. They want to keep your money to invest it. But if you have a lot of money coming in, and they're good with that. Now, the realtor fees are short because I am a realtor, so I can list the property. But also, most of the time, I don't list the property. I want to hire the best agent in that area. But however, this agent's going to also know that I'm an agent, so they know I could do it myself. So some are sticklers. Some will be like, nope, you need to give me 3% and 3% for the buyer's agent, 6%. I'm doing it at 6. But most people would do it a little cheaper. That's in the area, and so we do a little cheaper to save money. So that's how we go there. So let's go to the next tab. I'm gonna skip over deal analyze flip, and I'm gonna go to repair estimator here. So like I said, these numbers are low numbers because this is for low dollar markets. Now, when you come down here to the end, you see how I bumped it up 30%, because I know this will bring me to where I needed to be for the Bay Area, because this is in Oakland, California. So in the Bay Area, labor is high, cost of living is high here, and so labor is high. So that's why you got to bump everything up. And now this is all calculated cells. It's like an underwriting template. All the cells are formulated, whatever. So you go here to your deal analyzer for flips, and it's a breakdown of everything. How much you're spending, how much money's coming to the table, everything, how much you're making. And look here, this is not right. I don't even know why it says this. So a cell broke, because when I just checked this earlier, when I got back into my room here, this was 90,000, and this was 10%. I would never do a deal for 4%. This should be 10%. So there's a cell broken. I got to look in here and see what it is, but that's not right. My return on this deal is going to be, which I'm in contract for, is going to be a 10% return, and that's what I look for. So I got to look at that, why that's like that. So let me. And then I guess while I'm sharing, I guess I'll show you. Let me see. Let me just move this over here. So I guess I'll show you. This is like a yellow letter. I seen I had this on my computer here, and I'm gonna make this big so you guys see it. This is what I sent out right here. Dear Mr. Max, I hope you are staying safe and healthy during these times. I buy houses as is and for cash, and I'm still looking to add a new property to my portfolio. Would you be interested to hear my cash offer for your property at 123 Main Street? We schedule a virtual tour and maintain proper social distancing while we work together. The COVID-19 crisis is impacting us all. If a quick cash purchase will help you in these uncertain times, please call me or text me at, and this is my office line. Best wishes to you and your family, Mr. David Selvin. So, I sent a letter just like that. Okay, let me stop for a second. How do you do this? Okay. All right, I'm back. I sent a letter.
And while you're transitioning there, just keep in mind about 7 to 10 minutes left.
Okay. So I got to go quick because I got a lot to say. This was only the beginning. So from there, so you run your numbers. And once you run your numbers, you say, okay, this is a deal. So you put in your offer. Your contract always going to say and or assigns. Sometimes, so you'll say, so my company's Happy Home Legacy LLC. That's one of my companies. Happy Home Legacy LLC and or assigns is purchasing. That's going to be the buyer's name on everything. Now, sometimes when you're dealing with realtors, they don't want you. They're kind of hip to that, especially in a hot market like the Bay Area. They hip to that. And then I'm gonna transition too, because I want to talk about out of state, how I got involved in out of state and all of that. But in the Bay Area, they're kind of hip to that. So you really don't want to put and or signs, but you can do one or two things. You can say, I'm not saying the wording properly, but it's I have it written in the contract, but it's something like buyer to take vesting in certain name or whatever. It's written in like, fancy lawyer writing. And then the second way to do it is to add an addendum. And I'll add it, and I always put in the contract cash offer, because hard money is the same as cash. Any loan that's not conventional is the same as cash. So I'll put cash offer, but then I'll also put in the addendum, buyer reserves the right to attain hard money at the buyer's discretion. And then I also put in there in the addendum, buyer reserves the right to assign the property, but I use a different wording, and I'll send all that to you on Monday, Max. And so once you have that, so that allows you the rights to wholesale it. What wholesaling is basically you could sell that contract to another investor and or sell your rights. I better word that correctly, because you don't want to say it the wrong way, because then it'll be considered like you're doing something you ain't supposed to do. But basically, you're selling your rights to purchase that property to another investor. So basically, they're taking over the contract and they're following everything in the contract to move forward. A contract is just nothing but a blueprint on what for the title company to do. So the contract, so the way I know how to think about it is when I'm playing Legos with my family, with my son liked the Legos, and then we throw all the Legos on the floor, and then we pull out the booklet, says step 1, grab this piece, step 2, stack that piece on top of that piece. That's all our contract is. It's telling the title company exactly what's going on. It's a blueprint for them. And some states use title companies, some states use lawyers. Same thing. It's the same thing. It's just the closing people that close the property. So then at that point, I bought a property one time, no contingencies, and I'll never do it again. So at that point, I always have an inspection contingency, even if it's a small window. So what I like to do is, so if it's a really hot market, we do it. So I like to keep a long inspection period if possible. But if it's really hot market, I have to do a 3-day inspection period. But here in California, you can do a 3-day inspection period, and then if you don't, if you don't, we usually try to do a 7-day, then say no, then we do a 5-day, then they say no, then we'll say, okay, 3-day, because I have 3 days to put up my earnest money deposit anyways. So I'm like, shoot, okay, 3 days. Or if I say no inspection contingency, I just won't put up my earnest money. But I don't like doing that, because that tarnishes your name, and then people don't want to work with you, what you don't want to do. So I'll say, okay, 3-day inspection period. But then they also have to send you buyers a 48-hour notice to perform. So say about a 3rd day, you don't sign, you have to sign off on your inspection on contingency. And if you don't sign off on that, you have 2 more days for them to send you a notice to perform. Now that's 5 days. And then you also have the 2 days on the weekend. So you still get to 7 days. So I don't know why they just didn't agree to the 7 days in the first place. So they just don't think. But that's what we do sometimes in that scenario. Then at that point, that's at the point where you want to get your team in there. You get all your contractors in there. You get your bids going and everything. If it's a gut job, if you're moving walls, you get your framers in there. You start to do the work with your architect. But I don't use an architect often. It was only 2 properties I did where we had an architect. But most of the time, right now I'm looking for like smaller jobs. It's just cosmetic. We just go in there. We don't have to gut anything. But you just get all your crews in there. You get your subcontractors in there, and you get them moving forward and get everybody giving you bids, so you know what you're working with, so you can sign off on that, and then you can close the deal, bring the cash, and close the deal. Now, how did I get involved out of state? Well, out of state is basically, I don't know how it really happened. I knew an investor that was doing a lot of deals in Kansas City. He has a few hundred properties in the rental portfolio out there, doing really well. So I originally went out there to buy some rental properties to cash flow, and so I ended up buying some properties out there. And then while I was out there, I was like, when I was coming to Kansas City, I was thinking like it was gonna be this like hick town or whatever. You hear Kansas City. But when I got there, it was hip. There was certain areas that was like really hip that actually reminded me of San Francisco, like hipsters coming in. And when I see coffee shop, I was like, okay, neighborhood's changing. We could make some money here doing exactly what I do in the Bay Area. But I need the right team. You got to have the right team, the right boots on the ground. And so that took a little hiring and firing to figure out. But now I have a good team. So the way I run my rentals out there is basically I have a property management company, but they do nothing for me but collect the rent and evict tenants if tenants need to be evicted. I handle everything else myself because I found some solid contractors. And I don't know. I mean, I can't really say how to do the systems. Otherwise, if I could know how to do systems, I'll be in a lot of cities. But all I know is maybe I was just blessed to meet the right people. That's all I could say. I don't know. Maybe I attracted them to me. I don't know. I met a guy, my guy Armando. I just got off the phone with Armando because he's got to actually, he's going to renovate another unit for me starting on Monday. And this guy, anything that somebody else. So I was getting bids. So that's how it started. I had a tenant move out. I was getting bids where everybody else was telling me, 8 to 10,000. This guy was telling me 6, and I was a little worried because in my experience with that, when everybody's telling you these high numbers and somebody tell you a low number, they eventually not works out, and they eventually try to like hit you and try to raise the price on you later. And things like that. And so, I usually go, but my gut, I just follow my intuition. My gut told me deal with this guy. And he did it for $6,000 and he did it in a week. He was in and out in a week. I mean, a week. Like I never heard anybody do that. And he did it. He was good and we stayed in touch. And so for me, I was just looking like, man, I just want to keep him on team. How can I find more work for this guy? So then I started marketing campaign and met a couple of realtors out there that I kind of clicked with, and we just started marketing out there. And then now he's doing stuff for me out there in Kansas City. But I don't do anything big out there or Milwaukee. I do just like cosmetic type stuff. Anything that where I have to add square footage or anything where it's like gut jobs or things like that, I just won't do it. And it's not that I won't do it because it's really because of him I won't do it because he's like, no, I'm not doing that kind of stuff. I had a 12-unit apartment building come across my desk. The realtor called me. She remembered me. She's like, hey, Dave, you want to buy this one? I'm gonna let you take a shot at it first before I even put it on the MLS or let anybody else see it. So I was like, so she actually was a property manager for me, and then we ended up parting ways because she was getting out of the property management, but I always treated her really well. And so she's like, you know what, I'm putting this on the market, but I'll get you first shot at it. I immediately called my team out there, and he's just like, nah, my team, we don't want to do it. He's like, it's too much work. I don't want to do it. So I do what he likes to do because he's so good at it and he's so cheap and it works. And then as far as Milwaukee goes, and then as far as investors, how do I find investors out there? Facebook. So the wholesaler properties is Facebook. That's how I go to the Facebook groups. And that's what's crazy. The first time I went to Kansas City, in the one Facebook group, and I know Kavern, you from Kansas City, we spoke, and I know you're probably familiar with this group. It's MAREI, I think is the name of the group, or MREAI. But anyways, when I just put in the Facebook group, hey, out here in Kansas City, looking to network with as many people. Here's my number. Talk to me. Holler at me. And my phone just bloop, 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 instantly. About 200 people called me or text me between texting and calling and hit me on the instant messenger or whatever. It was just back to back. I thought I was going to be able to go see the city and the museum. I brought my wife with me. We want to have some fun. But nope, I was just meeting after meeting, just meeting people, just developing a strong team out there. And so a lot of those investors, I just kept them on a buyers. I put them in a database on a buyers list. And then my VA does all that. So like my whole thing is when I figure something out, how the hell can I get it off my plate? I don't want to do that. I love doing what I do, but I want to figure out a way, let somebody else do it, because what I enjoy more than anything is spending time with my family. And so I want to try to spend more time with my family. So how can I get somebody else to do something? That's my thoughts on everything. So instantly when I got something going, I try to figure out somebody else that can take it off my plate for me. So that's how that worked. And then in Milwaukee, the same thing. It's actually my buddy Will Roundtree I told you about with the business credit. He has, I want to say he has about 100 or maybe 150 doors out there, and not apartments, but he has small apartments, but it's like single families, fourplexes, maybe a sixplex, things like that, all scattered throughout Milwaukee. So he's been trying to get me involved in Milwaukee for years, and I was like, nah, not Milwaukee. But we established a relationship so tough that I actually, he introduced me to his team out there that he works with. So he has a team of contractors, property managers, bankers, like community bank, local bankers there, local in the area. And he introduced me to his whole team to the point where, I trusted them to the point where I actually bought a property out there back last June. I bought a fourplex and didn't even look at the property. I seen the property after I closed on it. I mean, and again, what am I going to see? I mean, I understand why Dave Lindahl says make sure you walk, because when they do an inspection on multifamily, they're not going into every single unit. They're going into a few units, and you got to make sure you trust. So that's another thing, is that I'm going to make sure I hire my own team for inspections and things like that, because I know personally, as being a realtor, appraisers, inspectors, they'll do what you tell them to do if you have that relationship with them. So you have to be careful with that as well. So I trusted the team, and it actually worked out. And that building's doing really good. It's cash flowing well. I'm getting, the money dropped in my account every month. It's good. It's good. Solid team. And I went out there afterwards, met the team level. But it was really the relationship. I had my trust in Will, and I knew Will changed my life. So because Will changed my life, it like took me to, you just view it differently. Okay, Will got it going on. I'm going to do it. And so that's just kind of like, I was talking with Tarina the other day, and she said something about somebody investing in her deal. And the reason was they didn't even really look at the deal, but they trusted her. It was the relationship. So relationships is very important. And I'm big on that. I feel that's very important. And it worked out.
I apologize so much for interrupting you, David. You're on a roll, but we're down to 6:20. How about taking 5 minutes of questions?
Oh, sure. I'm sorry.
See, no, you're doing great. I apologize. Yeah, we could do a day-long seminar on this. I get the feeling.
Yeah.
Anybody got a question? Give
Any
us a
questions? Hand. Okay, Larry Paul has raised his hand.
Yeah, it was just a coincidence. I was just looking at Milwaukee last week. What made you pick Milwaukee? It seems like prices are low right now.
Yeah, so originally I picked Milwaukee because of my buddy that was out there, and he was telling me a lot about what was going on locally. And then so actually now, and Milwaukee's newer, so I learned about economic development and all of that joining the Dave Ari Mentor program. And so, I started speaking to the economic development out there, and heard about different things going on in city plan, and learning about what's really going on in the city. And I see there's a lot of things changing up there. So that's what made me want to, and the fact that, like you said, it's cheap. But I also was looking more so from originally was looking from a rental perspective. Like, the cash flow is great. The cash on cash, the cap rate was great in nicer areas. So that's why I originally went in there. And then obviously with the connections with the people. So Will also has a coaching program that he does real estate. So anything, I can wholesale anything and call my I have a solid broker out there, realtor out there, who helps me dispose of anything I need out there. And together we all make money off the deals.
All right, thank you for that. Anybody else? Question? Raise a hand. And I'll interject one while we're waiting for the next hand. So if I think a lot of us on this group, you source private money for different deals. If an investor puts in 50 grand with you, or some provides cash for a deal, what's your terms? What do you pay them in interest? And are there points you'd be willing to pay them? And a lot of the benefits of multifamily is this idea of cost seg and depreciation. Is there any of those benefits with investing through the type of deals you're talking about?
Yeah, so the type of deals I'm talking about is flips. So it's active income. So, because it's active income. Now, the thing is, you could write it off with other expenses in your business when you run it as a business. So you have capital gains, but you run it as a business, or you could 1031 it into another deal. But I'll just sell the property and write it off. And then wholesaling is it's a marketing fee, basically. So, it's just income. So you just look for other ways to write it off. And then as far as investors, what I usually pay is the 10% annualized return. And I'll be willing to do points. That's something we could discuss on a case by case basis. And it's usually backed by a deed of trust.
Nice. Who else? Who's got a question?
Come on, guys. I wasn't that boring, was I? Well, Mary has a question.
David, you was good. You was good. Actually,
Thank you.
I'm actually looking to wholesale, so I'm gonna have to get with you guys.
Absolutely.
Besides, the multifamily until, I actually get a deal going. So that's what I'm looking at right now. So is everything you wholesale is vacant?
No, not at all. In California, though, you have to be careful with rentals. So I have a property now. It's not under contract yet. So this guy I've been working on him slowly. That's another thing. Follow up is major key. You have to follow up. I've been talking back and forth with this guy for 3 months now. And finally, he's like, you know what, I'm ready to sell. But the problem is one of the properties he's living in, which he doesn't mind, he wants to move to Sacramento. The other property is there's a tenant in there. He's having issues with the tenant. And so he's like, well, you take it with the tenant in it. On this case, I would, because I talked to the tenant and I know I could get him out by paying the tenant. Most of the time I wouldn't. In California, the rent control laws are crazy, especially if you're in cities like Oakland, Berkeley, San Francisco. The tenants have more rights than the landlords. The tenants have more rights than the landlords. They could do whatever they want, and it's just like, you know what, take me to court, and you're gonna be stuck in court for a long time. It's bad. So you really have to pay them to leave, to say, cash for keys. Like, look, we'll give you some money, just go on and get out of here. And that's just the way it goes. So I usually wouldn't take it if there's a tenant in there. If there's somebody living in there, it gets a little tricky when you're trying to wholesale a property with somebody living there, because if they find out you're wholesaling it, they're now going to be like, wait a second. They look at it that's my money. Wait, you're going to make a host? That's my money. That's my house. That's how they look at it. So, in those situations where like basically the property owner lives in the house, you just got to make sure the investors that you're going to wholesale to are solid. Now, I wouldn't do that with like newer people that I don't really know. I'll do that with more solid people because I know I could trust them, and I'll just say, hey, look, when you go there, just tell them, you're one of the contractors or you're part of the inspection team or whatever, you know what I mean? So they know what to say. Last thing you want is somebody going there for one. You don't want somebody going there trying to go behind your back and blowing the whole deal up. And then the next thing, you could also record your contract too. So that way if somebody tries to steal it behind your back, you could show like, look, I had the contract first, and then now we'll win in court. And then the next thing is also, okay. And the next thing also is that, you don't want somebody going there and be like, who are you? Are you the general contractor? Are you the plumber? And then they say, oh no, I'm going to buy the property. Wait, I thought Dave was buying the property, and then now that blows the deal up in your face. So you got to be careful for that. So, Max just hit me with the 2 minutes. Thank you. That's my time. And even though we rate the meeting, every speaker thinks you're rating the speaker.
I love it.
Like double digits. I love you guys. Thank you. Thank you guys for your time.
I love it. That double digits means a 10, huh, David? Okay, I'm going to try to unmute everybody, so get ready. Let me see if I can do this. Mute all, unmute all. Can I do that? Mute all. All muted. How do I unmute it? Okay, everybody unmute yourself and go back to the meeting notes. And scroll down to the bottom. And let's do the rate and wrap here.
Max, can you write for me? Because I'm driving. This is Star.
Hi, Star.
Hi.
What is your number, Star?
I give it a 9.
Nice. All right, well, let's start rolling. Pedro, what's your number?
9. Solid 9.
Dave, what's your number?
Obviously a 10, but only reason I put a 10 is not because I'm speaking, but because Max on Monday remind me to to send you the material because that way we could maybe put it in a drive and everybody have it.
I'd love it. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you for that.
Awesome.
All right, Max, I'm a 10. Cabrin? All right, Cabrin's a 9. Barry?
I did a 10. I love the energy tonight and everybody's enthusiasm.
Awesome. Tarina?
10.
Okay. Anybody else? Holler out your name and your rating.
Charmaine, 9.
Nice.
8. Sorry guys, Lucian. I give this an 8.
Nice.
I get a 10, Mary.
Nice. Awesome, you guys.
Mark, I give it a 9.
Nice. Thank you, Mark. All right, anybody else? Okay, well, as always, thank you guys. I love being on the call with you. It's great to be like-minded people who are thinking about freedom of time, money, and relationships. So congratulations, and thank you, David, for your time. And thank you for everybody. And we'll send out the video here for others in a few minutes, all right? Have a great evening.
Thank you.
And
Have a good
weekend.
evening, everybody. Enjoy your
Thank you.
weekend.
Thanks, David.
Thanks,
David.
You guys have a
Wonderful
wonderful
job.
evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Appreciate the time.